What's up, everybody? I am Brett L. Pape. That's Coach Bruce, and this is the Coach Approach. Coach, couldn't find the bumper. Wasn't going to look for the bumper. Let's just get into it. How you doing, brother? You're SoCal once again?
I am in SoCal, entertaining customers, doing the traveling salesman gig that I do. It seems like every other week we're doing this podcast during the season out of a hotel room. So here we are.
Well, there you go. When do you head back?
Head back Friday morning. I usually get up Friday morning, go grab some breakfast, hit the road around 8, 9 o'clock in the morning, just so I can get home at a decent time on Friday before the traffic hits. Enjoy my Friday night.
I've made
sip
that
some
drive
bourbon.
plenty with kids in college, and I've been in Phoenix a few times over the last few years. But hey, let's get right into it. News, injuries, and storylines. Before we jump into it, we're talking about Arizona. At the beginning of the season, we had our little predictions and little talks, and I was pretty high on Arizona, and I liked the possibilities if we got Kyler Murray being Kyler Murray. And before we jump into everything, man, he looked so good on Sunday, and just the way he manipulated the defense with both his leg and his arm, it's pretty impressive. I'm sure you being out there, they've got to be pretty excited about what's going on so far.
Oh, they're super excited, man. So my brother and I have been going back and forth all off season. He's got I think 150, I can't remember what the bet is, $100, but guy that's I can't remember what team the other guy. He's a Rams fan, and I think it was. And he was telling my brother, he's like, "Yeah, Cardinals are at best going to win 5-6 games." And Chad's like, I've got him at 8. And so I think they decided to agree that if the Cardinals win 7 or more games, Chad wins $100. If they win less than 7, the other guy wins $100. So their banter back and forth is pretty funny, man. But the family here is all Cardinal fans. I'm a Cowboys fan, but they're all pretty excited, man. And Kyler Murray, he looks fantastic, and obviously Marvin Harrison Jr. had his breakout game, and Trey McBride and what they've got there. So, and I love the coach they brought on. So I think the culture there is changing.
They could have snuck out of Buffalo with a win. I mean, they had or they're playing very competitive all the way through. So it'll be a fun thing to watch going forward. And obviously, you brought up Marvin Harrison, seeing what he did last week compared to week 1. Obviously, there were a lot of managers going, "Oh my gosh, I just spent #1 draft capital on this guy. Please be something." So doesn't look like anyone's got anything to worry about as far as that goes. But the injuries is where the worry starts. And let's start off out in Los Angeles with Chargers quarterback Justin Herbert. Left last week's game with a leg injury. Unfortunately, I should say, X-rays came back negative. He does have a chance to play. He was a DNP today. Coach, they're 2-0. You got to think he's going to be on the field if he's got any shot to play.
Yeah, I think he's absolutely in play here. I think there's any chance whatsoever. As an athlete and a competitor, you're doing everything you can to plead your case to the coaching staff and say, "Hey, man, I'm ready to go, and let's strap it up and let's go." So I fully expect to see Justin Herbert go this week.
What do you think about, and I don't want to get too far of a tangent, but the whole buy-in that he has had, obviously, with Harbaugh, and how, 2 or 3 years ago, he was a quarterback that a lot of people thought down the road he's going to be a quarterback 1 in fantasy with the way he came out as a rookie. I think he's got the touchdown record for most in a rookie season. But in this system now, you may not get that Justin Herbert that fantasy managers thought they were going to get as far as a career goes.
Yeah, I think this is Jim Harbaugh way, right? He's all about run first, and what it does is protects your quarterback. If you followed Michigan and you watched J.J. McCarthy, it's not much different. J.J. McCarthy's got a lot of talent, and Harbaugh was like, "Hey, this is about the run game. It's going to make the game easier for you. We're going to take calculated shots, run some play action." And I think he's going to do some of those same things with Herbert, where it's like, "Hey, let's dominate the line of scrimmage. Let's do what we do." That's going to open things up for you later on in the season. And I think that's a game plan that's going to work for those guys.
You just want to see what name I do not want to see pop up on this Wednesday show at the start is J.K. Dobbins, because from year 1 in his rookie year and all the way up until this season, injuries have been, hampering him every year. And it's been great to see him in that system kind of thrive like he has and leading the league in rushing. It's been pretty impressive to watch so far.
Yeah, I'm a big J.K. Dobbins guy, man. We've got a team together, and I wanted to get Dobbins on that squad. And then Scott Fishbowl, I was able to grab him there, and it certainly paid off. I think I went from, we got 4,000 people in Scott Fishbowl. I think I was ranked 3,058, jumped up 1,500 spots this last week. So I was J.K. Dobbins is a big part of that for sure.
Yes, he is. When you can get a guy like that, and you probably got him the 10th to 13th round range.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And now you're able to just pencil him in as a starter. I mean, you can't beat that. Let's move on. Jordan Love may return this week. after missing Sunday's game with the Colts, suffered a sprained MCL in week 1, lost to the Philadelphia Eagles. However, he was a limited participant today, and he's listed as questionable. As a Packer fan, I have kind of mixed emotions on him playing, but regardless, it may happen. What are your thoughts, Coach?
You know, it's funny as a coach, I want to play a little bit of the gamesmanship here, right? I want to have Jordan Love, get out, pregame. Guys like to get out 3-4 hours early, get out on the field, do some stretching. And if it's me and he looks halfway decent through warmups, and if he thinks he can go, I'm good with it. And if he doesn't, then I'm okay suiting him up as an emergency quarterback. You put Malik Willis in, you see how things go early in the game. You want to get to 2-1. It's a lot different than getting to 1-2. And, see how it goes. But for me, I would probably, if I think there's a chance he could go, I'm not afraid to suit him up as the emergency quarterback if things go south pretty quick in that game. But I think that I was surprised how Malik Willis played last week. So I think there's a chance if Jordan Love is not 100% that the coaching staff says, hey, it's probably smarter for us to sit you this week. Let's see how things go. But for me, I kind of like the gamesmanship, man. If he's not going to go, I'm still going to suit him up and try to, make him think that, hey, maybe there's a chance he plays. But
you bring up Malik doing well in week 1 as a starter and going 12 of 14 with a touchdown pass, but more importantly, just leading that offense that just ran it right down Indianapolis Colts' defense. And it was kind of fun to watch because you go into the game as a fan worried about how they're going to produce any offense to keep their defense off the field. And you know what? What that coaching staff did was pretty impressive. That was a great win for Green Bay. All right, moving on to Isiah Pacheco. Unfortunately, suffers a fractured fibula against the Bengals. Is expected to miss anywhere between 5 to 8 weeks. Has not been designated on the IR as of yet. But obviously that injury has led to a lot of fab discussion if you're on Twitter or if you have group threads with your leagues, because everybody's wondering, who do we pick up? Are you a Carson Strong guy, or are you Mr. P. Ryan?
I think it's tough, right? The one thing is it's Kansas City. It's an Andy Reid offense. It's Patrick Mahomes. I mean, it seems like almost anybody they put in that backfield can produce at a decent level, right? So I love Carson Steele. I love the story. I think he gets your early down work. Samaje Perine is the veteran. I think it's going to be more of a split snap count. They'll probably continue to feed the hot hand. Expect Perine to be more involved in the passing game. And, of course, Kareem Hunt, just newsworthy, was signed to the practice squad. They're going to get him a couple practice in, see what that looks like. I think we're probably looking at him in the next week or two. But I like Carson Steele. I like what I've seen in film. He runs hard. He runs physical. I think Andy Reid loves that mentality that he has, and Samaje Perine gives you that veteran, compliment there. But I expect Carson Steele to, get the early down work and, of course, the goal line work.
Former fullback at UCLA, now starting running back for maybe one of the best offenses in the NFL. Moving on to another, not bad on rookie free agent, not bad at all. Moving on to another running back with issues, and that's Joe Mixon. If you saw the hip tackle Sunday night, suffered an ankle injury, left the game, did return, wasn't as explosive as he was prior to the injury, did not practice today. If he's unable to go, what are your thoughts on the backfield going forward?
Yeah, I think some of it depends on Dameon Pierce, right? Missed last week, but looks like he's, did not practice today, but they're trying to see if they can get him ready to go this weekend. But, Cam Akers is healthy. Cam Akers is a guy that's gotten some work, obviously with the Rams, had some moments prior to the injury. So I think there's an opportunity for him to take that lead back role. And, of course, Dari Ogunbowale, say that 10 times fast, is going to get an opportunity to play a role there, too. So I know every time I say it great in the pre-show, we're going through the show, then I get on air, then I stumble through it. But, yeah, Dari Ogunbowale, there you go.
There you go. All right, Rachaad White. Rachaad White has been dealing with a groin injury, isn't expected to miss time. However, if you've been paying attention to that backfield, Bucky Irving is starting to he's taking a bigger role each week, a little earlier than I thought he would.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we talked about the efficiency numbers of Rachaad White last year, but the volume was there, which makes him a great fantasy play. Smart, get Bucky Irving out of Oregon, who had a great career there. I can't remember where he started out his freshman year, but great pickup there. And obviously he played well in week 1, struggled a little bit in terms of efficiency as well last week with the yards per carry. But if it's Bucky Irving time, man, I'm on board. I got a ton of shares of him on the teams that I've got. So I'm excited to see if he does get a lion's share of the carries this week.
It will be interesting to see. The one thing that they've got to figure out, though, is Rachaad White, as inefficient as he is running the ball, he adds so much in the passing game.
Yeah.
So that could be an issue if it's strictly Bucky going this week. Next one is Cooper Kupp, expected to miss extended time with ankle injury. Talking about, when it first occurred, you're looking anywhere between 3 to 6 weeks. However, news today came out that they're holding off on putting him on the IR. But whether or not he goes on the IR doesn't really have anything to do with this week, as he's not good to go for this week. What are they going to do there? What are they going to do there? They've got so many injuries up front. They've obviously already lost Puka. There's not much left in the cupboard for Stafford to look to get the ball to.
Oh, it went from being one of the elite wide receiver rooms in the NFL when you've got Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua coming off the rookie season he had last year, to all of a sudden it's Demarcus Robinson, Tyler Johnson, Tutu Atwell, and Jordan Whittington out of Texas, who had a great preseason. But if I had to rank those guys in order, I'd probably put Demarcus Robinson, Tyler Johnson, then Jordan Whittington, and then of course Tutu Atwell, a veteran player. He has some hits here and there in the deep passing game, the screen game. But I like Jordan Whittington. I think he fits the mold of what Sean McVay likes and what he did in the preseason, what he does after the ball. He runs angry, as Kyle Brandt would say, which I hate that segment, but I'm going to throw it out there. But they're so decimated with injuries up front. It's almost like you feel like it's like protection mode for Matthew Stafford. I can't remember who it was, but somebody mentioned that, hey, man, there may be a point in the season where they just look to shut Matthew Stafford down. Right?
I saw a lot of trade talk. They're talking about Bryce Young to the Rams. You've got just a whole bunch of crazy discussions today about it. But, and it's unfortunate because just 2 weeks ago prior to the season, there were a lot of people that had the Rams in the NFC Championship game, if not in the Super Bowl, just based off of what they were able to do last year and how they approached their offseason, bringing in the 2 Florida State guys on defense. And here we are 2 weeks later, and they're just hoping they can put together an offense to put on the field. All right, next one, Justin Jefferson dealing with a quad contusion. If you saw a lot of the kind of hoopla that went on after Minnesota beat them beat San Francisco in the locker room, Justin looked like he was feeling okay. And I didn't talk to him, but if you hear anybody talk to him, he sounds as if he thinks he's going to go. So obviously it's going to be an important game against Houston this week.
Yeah, and they need him, right? Jordan Addison's obviously been battling injury as well, but you get into the depth chart beyond that, and you're talking about Jalen Naylor and Brandon Powell and Trent Sherfield. So I'm sure everybody hopes Justin Jefferson can go.
Next one, and he probably won't go after missing Monday night, and that's A.J. Brown. Came up with a hamstring injury at Friday practice. Missed, obviously, Monday. Doesn't look like he's going to go this week. We've already seen the offense without him. So what did that look like to you as far as who we starting for them going forward if we don't have an A.J. Brown?
Well, I think obviously Devontae Smith. He played 100% of the snaps last week, not shocking, and found the end zone, which is not surprising either. Jahan Dotson got 79% of the snaps, but was not relevant in that game at all. And then when you get beyond that, you've got Johnny Wilson. Paris Campbell's got some experience, had some good games when he was with the Colts, so there's an opportunity there for him to step up. But as long as you've got, Saquon Barkley, Devontae Smith, and A.J. Brown, Dallas Goedert, I think you're going to be fine on the offensive side of the ball. They got to figure out how to win games and close out games. You're talking about 2-7 over the last 9 games. Yeah. Philadelphia's got some things they got to figure out.
All right, before we move on to our next injury, let's get Blake up here. Blake, how are you? First and foremost, thank you so much for coming in as always. You made a trade today, needed a quarterback in Dynasty. Yes, Stafford and Herbert, was concerned with the production from both those guys. Herbert handling the ball off way more and Stafford's weapons hurt. Okay, what was the trade? We'd love to hear it. We love trade talk.
He's probably getting to it. He's got slow fingers, man. He's typing it out. He's going to figure it out. I believe in you, Blake.
Let's move on to our next injury real quick then. Next injury, we've got Evan Ingram suffered a hamstring injury prior to Sunday's game with the Cleveland Browns. His injury was described as week to week. Did not participate today. That's awful. When you get a guy who gets hurt prior to a game, it wasn't in a game situation, it wasn't practice, it was just warming up for a game, and he's such a big part of that offense.
Yeah, and it gets scary after that. You're talking about the tight end position, so you might as well just, if he's not going, the tight ends that they've got on that roster are not going to be relevant this week. But I hope Evan Ingram can go. It was great to see him have the year that he had last year after some tough years with the Giants, and obviously having the pass catching issues and the drops. But I'm hoping Evan Ingram can go.
Okay, let's get to the second half of what Blake is telling us here. He traded Rashid Shaheed for Goff and a third-round pick in this year rookie draft. I am buying the Shaheed hype. I like, obviously, if you watch what New Orleans has done over the last 2 weeks, it's hard not to like what they've done. But as far as the fantasy side, I see why you're doing this. If this is one quarterback, I like the trade for you.
No matter what I like to trade for him too. Well done, Blake. I think it's I'm like you. I'm a Shaheed guy too. I think he's done enough in the first 2 games of the season, and the Saints offense is obviously rolling right now. Derek Carr's playing at another level, so I like Shaheed.
Okay, full PPR question. Andrew, thank you so much for the question. Thank you for popping in. What's up, fellas? Who should I start? Full PPR, Zamir White or Brian Robinson? Neither one of them are very productive out of the passing game, so that kind of washes each other out. But Brian Robinson, I mean, you saw what he did last week. For me, this is a no-brainer. This is Brian Robinson.
Yeah, I think it's Brian Robinson by a mile.
All right, let's move on to our next injury. We got CeeDee Lamb, which you as a Dallas Cowboy fan and me as a manager of a home league team with him on it, I certainly did not like to see this today. He's listed as questionable with an ankle injury, did not practice. You concerned, Coach?
Yeah, I mean, as a Cowboys fan, like we talked about this earlier, they got the absolute beat down from the Saints, man. It's like Cowboys, right? Week 1, you come out with a win against Cleveland on the road, and team plays well, defense steps up, you get a special teams touchdown, and you're going into week 2 thinking, hey, home opener, CeeDee Lamb's back, he's got a game under his belt, and Cowboys going to come out and throttle him, and it was the exact opposite. So obviously some real concerns with CeeDee Lamb is out. You got Jake Ferguson who could potentially play. You saw what that offense was like last week without him. They've got absolutely nothing in the run game. I don't care Dalvin Cook is there this week. It doesn't matter who you line up. That run game is so bad right now that there's some real concerns if CeeDee Lamb can't go.
Moving on to our next injury, David Njoku, DNP today, also with an ankle injury. We can also throw on Nico Collins, DNP today with a hip issue. From the research that I did right before the show, it looks like I wouldn't call them rest days for either one of them, but I will say that it looks like they're just trying to get them a couple days rest before really giving a test to see if they can go. So not overly concerned, but obviously Nico Collins, what he's been doing, I mean, he's a top. Where do you have in fantasy dynasty rankings right now? Where would you put him as far as wide receiver? I think he's got to be top 7, top 8. You're married to a young quarterback and a great offense with a great offense coordinator.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you for the week because those rankings are dumb, but I've got Nico Collins at wide receiver 6. So he's right there in the, right there in the top 5 basically. So I'm big on him this year. He's shown everything, man.
Okay, let's go back to Andrew. We've got standard scoring, start Pickens or start Ridley. Who do you like in this one? I like both these guys. I think, you see a lot of people talking about Pickens as someone you want to go buy, what he's been doing the first couple of weeks as far as target share and so forth. So I like Pickens. And what you saw Ridley do last week, I mean, he had a great week. So it's a tough one, but who do you think, Coach?
Well, they both get tough matchups, right? You got George Pickens going against the Chargers, who right now have the number 1 defense in the NFL. And then you've got Calvin Ridley going up against Green Bay. So I don't like the matchup for either one of them. As far as quarterback play in Pittsburgh, we're not seeing Justin Fields throwing the ball a ton. And, of course, if you saw the Sports Center highlight of Will Levis trying to throw I don't know what that was, the behind-the-back pass, he's falling down and basically got chewed out by the coach coming off the field. But I don't like either one of these. I like the talent for both. I don't love the matchup for either. And I'm not loving the quarterback play right now on either team either. So if I had to pick one, though, I do have George Pickens ranked higher than Calvin Ridley this week.
All right, George Pickens it is. And then the last injury we're going to bring up, and this has obviously been known for a couple of days with Tua. He's been placed on the IR today, suffered a concussion last week against the Bills. We don't need to talk about whether he should retire or not. That's been kind of talked about enough. But as far as it relates to dynasty, what are we doing, Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill? I mean, it's a tough spot. Are you able – I have a league where he was my wide receiver too, and I don't have much depth on the team. And I'm going to have to ride it through, but I'm a little obviously concerned about what type of production we're going to get without Tua.
Yeah, and I think he should be, right? I think Skylar Thompson's not a guy that you're going to get out there and you're going to run the same offense with Skylar Thompson. You're going to have to protect him, make some easy throws, and which they can use Tyreek Hill a lot in the screen game. They use Watt a little bit in the quick game. They use him in the screen game as well. I think that, it's tough, man. It's so bad when you see teams like that have got such great players at the skill position, especially the wide receiver position, and your quarterback goes down.
I get why, with the salary cap, teams try and go cheap at the quarterback 2 spot. But we saw last year, and now we're seeing this year. I mean, they're going to continue to happen. It's just sad that there aren't more than just – how many good quarterbacks are there in the league? 25? There's not enough quality players that keep the game moving without the starter.
No, there's not. And again, you've got a team that it's funny. We talked about this before the season started, doing our pregame or our preseason predictions. And you and I were talking about how I just felt like Miami could be one of those teams on the outside looking in for the playoffs. And then of course we do our first show and I pivoted. I'm like, but there's so much talent offensively. I can see them sneaking into the playoffs at 10-7 or 9-8. And now, of course, I'm going to go back to it. It's ugly, man. It just is. And it sucks if you're a Miami Dolphins fan, you're a Tyreek Hill or Jalen Waddle owner in fantasy. It's just week to week, man. It's a different deal.
Okay, Coach, let's get on to another one with Blake before we jump into our Thursday night breakdown. Start 1, Zach Moss or Jerome Ford? Who do you like here, Coach? We've got Zach Moss, Cincinnati, and Jerome Ford with Cleveland. He's got A.J. Brown hurt, so he needs a flex start.
Who's he got? Again, sorry.
We're looking at Zach Moss and Jerome Ford. For me, I think it's Moss, but what does your ranking say?
Yeah, I've got Zach Moss. They're playing against Washington this week. Washington, of course, defensively is a train wreck right now, so he's got a much better matchup. So I like Zach Moss here. I think they get out early. Hopefully this is a game that Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase can finally get it going and raise that offense to another level, which means at the end of the game, they're handing the ball off a lot. So I like Zach Moss in this one just based on game script. Ford's got a great matchup against the Giants too. So let's not say they both don't have great matchups because they both do. But I just think Zach Moss for me is the better play against Washington this week.
Thank you again, Blake. And as far as start and sit questions before we get into the Thursday night game, Sunday morning, 8:30 a.m. Pacific time, we will have start and sit for all games. Monday night, there's 2. We will break those down as well. But that starts at 8:30. Come in with your start sit questions, and we'll try and get to all of them. All right, let's get on to Thursday night football. We've got New England 1-1 at New York Jets. Odds, New York Jets minus 3.5, over and under 37.5. Sure wish it'd be a little more for fantasy regards, but it isn't. Picks, New York Jets. I like winning 24, New England 14. Who do you like in this one, Coach?
Yeah, I've got Jets 23, New England 13. So I've got them just below the under, and I think you've got them just above. I think up half a point on the over. So we're a little bit different there, but score-wise, we're right in the same ballpark, man. I think the Jets win this one, especially at home.
Okay, I agree as well. Hopefully we get to see more of Braylon Allen. I can't wait to hear you tell me about what you thought on Braylon Allen. New England starting sits. First, New York defense, number 24 in total yards, number 24 in rushing yards, number 17 in passing yards. Quarterback, obviously, Jacoby Brissett, quarterback 31 on the week. He's a sit. He's only completed 30 of 51 passes for 270 yards and a TD in 2 games. He's obviously not startable. He's someone that they're just kind of letting the team develop a little bit before they put in the rookie Drake May. Moving down, now here is a start for me. That's Ramondre Stevenson. I was a little concerned about him going into the season, not knowing what the offense was going to look like, not knowing if Antonio Gibson was going to add anything to it. And so far, those concerns were not warranted. He's had great production. You could have drafted him in 7th to 9th round or redraft, and here he is getting you 46 carries, 23 a game for 200 yards and a touchdown. He's added 5 receptions, not much of a threat in the passing game, but he is a start for me. We brought up Antonio Gibson, running back 50, only 19 touches on the season, not a start. Demario Douglas, wide receiver 73, not a start because of the offense and the way it is right now. Jalen Polk, he's also not a start, but he did get in the end zone. He's a rookie. I like him for Dynasty. So he's someone that if you have deep benches, he's Obviously, you probably picked him up in rookie drafts, but he's someone to monitor going forward. But here's another start for him. It is a pass catcher, and that's Hunter Henry. Tight end 5 on the week, only pass catcher really to play in New England that I like. Had 12 targets with 8 receptions for 109 yards last week against Cincinnati. So my only starts were Ramondre Stevenson, Hunter Henry. Anybody else on that team, we're setting. Coach, anything you would differ with?
No, I'm with you. I've got Ramondre Stevenson and Hunter Henry's my only starts as well. So we're on the same page there.
Okay, let's let you take over for the New York starting sits.
Yeah, so for the Jets, beat Tennessee last week 24-17 after losing a tough one to San Francisco in week 1. New England defense is 11th in total yards allowed, number 2 in rushing yards allowed. So have done well against the run, and 27th in passing yards allowed. Aaron Rodgers, I've got him at QB 18 this week, mid QB 2. Super flex formats, I'm willing to play him as a start. In one quarterback leagues, hopefully you've got somebody that Aaron Rodgers as your QB 1, but obviously we've had some injuries at the quarterback position, so you might be forced to play him. I do expect him last week, 18 to 30, 176 yards, 2 touchdowns. Passing yards have been down. Him and I'll get into Garrett Wilson here in a minute, but they've struggled to connect a little bit early on in the season, but I expect that to improve this week. Breece Hall, I've got at RB2. Not a great matchup. You look at the stats, New England, only 2nd in rushing yards allowed, but only 2 weeks in. I don't think that's sustainable for them. I think Breece Hall is a phenomenal talent. He stands the RB5 in PPR scoring on the year, heavily involved in both the ground game and the passing game so far this season. He's got 116 yards rushing with a touchdown on the ground and 12 grabs for 91 yards and a touchdown through the air. So he's doing it both on the ground and through the air with 21 total touches in each game. So he's getting the usage that you want to see, the 91% opportunity share. I'm definitely playing Breece Hall. Brandon Allen, I love the talent. I've got him as a kind of a mid RB4, and that's only because we don't know what the game script's going to look like, what that use is going to be like. But very encouraging to see him increase his snap share from 18% week 1 with just 9 snaps to 35% and 20 snaps played last week. He also took advantage of the opportunity, scored a touchdown on the ground, and also got a touchdown through the air, which was great to see. So not ready to put him in my lineup yet as a starter unless you absolutely have to in deeper formats or deeper leagues. But until he gets, more of the touches, but I'm certainly like what I'm seeing the 4th round pick out of Wisconsin.
Let me, before we move on to the next one, just mentioned that 4th round pick out of Wisconsin, late 2nd round, if not 3rd round pick in SF drafts this year and rookie drafts. And for you to see this type of opportunity this early on with a guy like Breece Hall in the offense, you got to be over the moon if you drafted him, because he's already showed you that they're willing to give him opportunities with a healthy Breece Hall. If there ever is an unhealthy Breece Hall, man, Braylon Allen is someone that people are going to be disappointed they didn't pick up.
It's great. I think you make that's such a great point, but I think you also have to look at, if this was 2016 where Zeke Elliott went 4th overall to Dallas, Braylon Allen's a 2nd round pick, because the running back position has been so devalued, and teams feel like, if you look at the Super Bowl champions, they don't have typically. Now, Pacheco had a great year last year, but you typically don't see RB1 guys that are on these Super Bowl rosters in some cases, right? And so you've had a lot of teams are saying, hey, I'd rather go running back by committee, or I'd rather figure out a way to, save money at that position and pay at other positions than what was becoming more of a passing league. But we're seeing that run game come back a little bit. So I love Braylon Allen's talent. And to your point, if Breece Hall does go down, I'm not concerned whatsoever with putting Braylon Allen in. He's going to get serious RB1 volume if Breece Hall misses any time. So next, I've got
break down next.
Yeah, so Garrett Wilson, I've got him at wide receiver 6 this week. Again, I said earlier, talking about Aaron Rodgers. I think Garrett Wilson and Aaron Rodgers put it together this week. The Patriots have not been good against the passing game. Statistically, here's what's crazy. When you break down the first 2 weeks of this season, it's not much different than what we've seen over Garrett Wilson's first 2 seasons. And we know who those quarterbacks were, with Rodgers getting hurt 4 plays in last year. His 58.8% catch rate is only 2% better than what we've seen over the first 2 years of his career. His yards per game is lower than what we saw in his rookie season and again last year. But I think Aaron Rodgers coming off the Achilles injury, first game back, right? Now he's gotten some real game reps. I think these 2 are just getting started. I have no concerns about the talent of Garrett Wilson and upcoming connection with Aaron Rodgers. So I've got him breaking 100 yards this week, and I think he finds the end zone. I think this is a breakout game for Garrett Wilson this week, so he's in your lineups. Allen Lazard went from 100% snap share to 82 last week, had a great week 1 with 2 touchdowns in a game that got away from the Jets, but I don't see him being relevant this week, just like he wasn't last week. followed up that 6-catch, 89-yard, 2-touchdown performance in week 1, which is 1 grab or 2 grabs on 4 targets for 11 yards. So I'm not starting Allen Lazard. Mike Williams, for you guys that have Mike Williams coming off the injury, it was encouraging to see his snap count jump from 18% in week 1 to 65% last week. Still only resulted in 1 grab for 19 yards on a single target. So we're not ready to put him in our lineup, obviously. But I do think as we get into weeks 4, 5, 6, that you'll start to see a little bit more of Mike Williams, especially in the 2 receiver sets where it looked like him and Lazard were kind of splitting some of the reps there. So not ready to start Mike Williams. So I've got Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall are must starts, Aaron Rodgers and Superflex, or again, if you have quarterback injuries in a 1-quarterback league, that's fine. And then Mike Williams is my only guy that I'm saying I'm absolutely not starting, and Allen Lazard, sorry, both those guys.
Like it. Good job, Coach. Can't wait to watch it. It's here tomorrow, Thursday Night Football. Before we talk about Sunday's show, we've got question. Adrian wants to know, trade Kyren and Tank Dell for Lamb. For me, I'm going to I have concerns for both of the 2 people they're talking about trading. Kyren, I have concerns because you have not seen what we saw last year out of him so far the first couple weeks. And the offense is obviously struggling with injuries, both on the offensive line. Now your 2 best skill players. So it just means more stack boxes against Kyren. And Tank Dell, he hasn't. There's a lot of mouths to feed in that offense. So, yes, I'm making this trade as quickly as possible. Get me CeeDee Lamb. Coach, you?
Well, this is not me, the Cowboys fan, saying this. This is truly me as a former wide receiver and wide receiver coach. And everything that CeeDee Lamb does, just the physicality he's running with now, his ability after the catch, what he did last year, I'm taking CeeDee Lamb if I can get him. And to your point, especially Kyren right now with where that offense is at, with the offensive lineman down, your 2 top pass catchers down, Tank Dell, a lot of mouths to feed in Houston. So I'm pretty much echoing.
Blake Corum's going to get more and more as the season goes on.
Yep. If I can get CeeDee Lamb, I'm taking him every chance I get.
Yep.
I'm willing to overpay for CeeDee Lamb.
Totally agree. Anytime you can get a top 3 guy in their position, I'm making that trade. Coach, appreciate you jumping on. Everyone else, we will be on Sunday morning, 8:30 Pacific time, 11:30 Eastern, or an hour and a half before kickoff. Appreciate you, Coach.
Whoa, bro. We got done in 30 minutes, man. Look at us, bro.
We did. That's what we said needed to be done. We're out, and we can't wait to come back here in 3 days.
Yep. We'll see you guys on Sunday.
Peace out.